All right, I hope everyone is feeling refreshed after that drinks break. Our next speaker is Erwin. Erwin is the co-founder and CEO of Chainels. They are the operating system connecting landlords and tenants across Europe. I'm looking forward to finding out what that means, but also finding out a bit more about, I think you've promised, Erwin, that you're going to show us how you've created the self-driving car for AI in this space, using AI in this space. So with that, over to you.
All right. Good. Thank you for being here. Maybe before I introduce myself, who is working for an enterprise or a corporate? All right. Who has their own startup? Cool. And some freelancers? All right, good. That's a nice mix. That's good. So I will tell a bit about myself, but it's good to know you a bit as well, because I definitely want to answer some questions at the end and during the presentation as well. But my name is Erwin Buckers. I'm co-founder and CEO of Chainels, a B2B SaaS company from the Netherlands. I have a background in computer science at the Technical University from Delft, and my company is now based in Rotterdam, the Netherlands. So then you have a little bit of context. Today, a lot of topics to cover, so I will keep it short so that we hopefully have some discussion time. But otherwise, just let's continue the talk after my presentation. But I will first explain a little bit the concept of the self-driving car. That's our metaphor of what we're building. We're not actually building a self-driving car, but I have a video of it in my presentation. Then I will talk a bit about compliance, because we are here in the enterprise track. A bit of infrastructure, that will be the tough topic, because I have really good guys back in Rotterdam, but they are not here. But I will tell you a bit, and if you have really complex questions, then I'm going to forward the question and we continue it somewhere else. And then a bit about developer experience, because I think that's extremely important as well, and I think also touching the topic from the previous presentation. Last but not least, I founded the company together with my co-founder Sander. We raised 3 million 2 years ago already, and we have now a team of 50 people in Rotterdam. Thanks. So a bit more context of what we're doing. We are indeed a tenant app, as we say, or a resident OS operating system. And what we do is that we work for all type of buildings across Europe, for big real estate companies, because they want to modernize their service towards their end user, the people living and working in the building. So that looks a little bit like this. We started building that 10 years ago, straight from university. And we are using n8n now for, I think, about close to 1.5, 2 years to do a few things way faster in our platform, and I will guide you through. So first of all, before I going to talk a lot about n8n, I will explain a little bit what I mean with the self-driving car. As you may know, you actually have the self-driving car already in San Francisco. Was there this summer? It's amazing, but it is also quite crazy when you're in, because there is no driver, and it's really driving itself. And that's, I think, what we are promising with our app as well. People are now controlling our app, managing things, but we know that we can do the majority of the admin work with AI. So if we keep the comparison with the self-driving car, there is actually a sort of definition when a car is self-driving, and it is level-based. So step by step, it gets smarter and smarter with the lane assist, cruise control, and so on. And I think that's also how we envision enriching our platform with AI. So that is what we, with our branding team, rebranded to Lumen AI. The big companies have also cool names for their AI or their things. And we built an AI wrapper called Lumen AI in our platform to make it smarter with n8n. So we are an enterprise client, I think, for about a year now. Before that, we were using the community version. So please don't ask the differences, because I'm only using enterprise at the moment myself, but I can at least explain what I like about it, and I'm quite sure it's maybe not in the community model. But what we do is that the app will be smarter, so writing things. We enrich all the features in our platform with AI, thanks to n8n. So we built assistants, chat assistants. I have one quick video of it. We built all the agents. We can build that all with n8n, and then having our own interface. In the previous presentation, I think there was a good example of that, how you build with your own front end, but n8n in the back end, how you can do that. Maybe a quick video of just one small feature in our platform. There is an assistant. You ask to write a message, schedule it for tomorrow, and it will, via the MCP node of n8n, find a way to call all the endpoints to do this work. That would be around 12 clicks otherwise. And that's what we built and what we're experimenting. Currently, we are in beta with this product. So we have about 10,000 users using it, but we have 500,000 users in the platform. But to ship this feature, it was all about compliance, actually, because our clients are corporates. And as explained earlier, compliance is extremely important there. And that's also where n8n Enterprise, or the self-hosted version, became extremely important for us. So maybe to show you a bit, so we have my company Chainels. Lumen AI is just the AI layer in the platform. The company is called Chainels. We have a trust center. We have sub-processors. We have contracts with hundreds of clients across Europe. If we change something, we need to update these agreements. So for us, n8n was amazing there because we can have the self-hosted version in our AWS cluster in Ireland, and we don't have to add all the time new sub-processors, but it's quite of a hassle, at least if you talk to my legal team. Then I think also enterprises, and just an example of a workflow in our platform, in our test environment, is also that if something goes wrong, you need to explain why it went wrong. Are there any logs? Can we trace it? There are amazing features in as well to do that. So we even sync logs to our Elastic cluster to have all the logs in the system so that we can backtrace what is happening and that we can guarantee quality. And if there are requests, we can answer them. That's especially for our DevOps team quite a big task. And I think maybe one fun thing to show here, because that's also why I make the snapshot like this with this isolated island Firebase node. I think with one of the latest updates of n8n, you have now the Postgres data tables as well. That was amazing because we sometimes had to go to Firebase, and then part of our client base didn't have Firebase as sub-processor. So that was, for example, already nice because now you have it self-hosted still on AWS in our case. Another thing that is a huge power if you build with AI, I think most of us will not know what's the next step, what is the best model. So we were actually copy-pasting workflows, as you explained before. And then at some point, luckily, this thing got released so that we can have multiple models in our workflows. Because we have, for example, clients from Europe, in France, that are obviously using Mistral a lot. But we have also some European assets from US-based companies that prefer most of the time OpenAI. So based on their preferences, we can actually offer the same AI functionality just with a different model behind it. Of course, based on the quality of the model, there is maybe a better accuracy and so on, but I think from a compliance point of view, it's an interesting one, because most of the time, the first question we ask is, which LLM or which framework do you already have? Because that can speed up our process. So that sounds all super, super nice, and we can roll out, but that's unfortunately not the case. It still takes 3 to 6 months for us to deploy this functionality in the platform. Why? Because you still need to go through the compliance steps. But the good thing of this setup is that you have limited sub-processors, no LLM vendor lock-in, and you have the traceability. But on the other hand, it takes long. Why? Because you see in general that it's an unclear area. So you see the legal teams of the other side figuring out which framework to apply. Then Europe is changing the rules. Then the US versus Europe is an interesting one as well. So you still have some troubles there. And I think also from a cybersecurity point of view, you really need to think about your prompts and how you can inject things in your application layer. So it brings some complexity, but it definitely speeds it up if you figure this out. And I think one thing, what is a shortcut, I think if you're doing a startup, you want to be innovative, call it a beta or a pilot. Probably you can position it for a small period, test first before you sign a big deal. That was for us a fast way to launch the first functionality in our platform. And then we go through the 3 to 6 months trajectory. All right, let me go to infrastructure. So I think on compliance, if there are any questions, feel free to ask them. We have seen a lot of challenges there. I think long story short, most of the corporates are figuring out what is the best way as well. So I think just keep the conversation going. do your job, do your homework, and then I think most people are extremely excited about AI capabilities. Infrastructure. I have a few slides about it. They tap in a bit in the previous talk about how you can structure it, but we have a cluster in AWS with Kubernetes. Here are some details, but the most important thing is that we have a high availability production with multiple instances. We also have, we call it production and staging. We also don't touch production, we don't do hot fixes there. So there are definitely some similarities, and we can easily scale it up. Actually, we can even spin up a new instance if we want in 15 to 30 minutes, because based on all the scripts that we have running. I think at the moment we have, you see only I think two instances here, but I think we have around 5 at the moment running in the company. So if we zoom in a bit more on the cluster, then this is a bit how production looks like. So in our case, it's also connected with Git, and we have production, what is high available, multiple instances, what's the main, and then we have a staging that's a little bit simpler setup. It's more a cost thing, and obviously there is less workflows and executions happening. And then we have some other environments for the team, internal, and then when we started with n8n with just back office automations, and then we went to AI. And then we were breaking every time the production environment with AI things that were running forever. So then we also created our AI instance, because we thought then at least the basics, the fundamentals keep running. By now we figured out how we can avoid that. But I would definitely recommend to make multiple instances. And as explained before, you can easily sync these things. There are definitely some challenges. I think what my team hates the most is, I think, copy-pasting credentials from demo to production. Of course, you have ways. We tried out a lot of things, how to share keys and things. But I think it will improve over time. If there is somebody here that has a great tip for me at the end, please share it with me, because this is definitely something where you make a lot of people back in the Netherlands happy with. Yeah, maybe a few numbers that I got today. We actually doubled last week, but the production is now running on 2 CPUs, 4 GB memory. But yeah, it depends a little bit on what we're doing. It's maybe good to mention that a lot of things that we're doing are not webhook based. A lot of things are also happening overnight, are scheduled jobs that we can easily spread out over the day or the week.
What's your throughput?
Sorry?
What's your throughput executions per day?
That's a good question, because we have actually now we had the insights disabled on n8n because it was not good for our performance. We just turned it on a week ago. To give you an example, at least one of our clients is, for example, do 1 million executions every month for one workflow. So I think we're talking about workflow executions, I guess 10 million or something at the moment, a month. But it really depends, because we have also a lot of legacy software that we connect, and then we do the scheduled jobs. So just every minute pulling. So creating our own webhook on things. So we're optimizing now. But yeah, let's put it that way. The million is highest that we have. Our AI feature at the moment is doing, I think, in total for the 10,000 users, around 1 million executions a month as well. So that's a bit the size, but the thing what I'm showing here, not all the executions are on these instances. The AI is a bit separated from that.
And it's a pod, then you always scale it, right?
Sorry?
It's a pod size, and then you always...
Yeah. So what our DevOps team is doing, that indeed, for example, when we started the AI project in January this year, then we created technically this environment immediately for the AI instances as well. And these are our back office automations, and our AI instances have slightly different setup, but in essence, the same thing. And we also, and that's I think my next topic, we try to implement all the dev experience, like rules and things, how you work. We try to perceive it as coding, like how we're doing it. Has also to do with our background. Most of us are developers, or were developers, and doing this. But maybe I can tell you a bit more in the next slides. Let me see the time. All right, so that's good. Okay, so here we go. Developer experience. Maybe a little bit about the... Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
I'm curious about what was the mode of n8n that gave you, because I feel like you could have built this in AWS, like yourself even. Is it like the speed to production? For example, if it's speed, does it have tech depths for production?
That's a good one. That's really... Yeah, so maybe to repeat the question a bit. Yeah, the last thing that you mentioned was tech depth and why n8n and not building it yourself. It's a really good question. It's maybe good to mention that we have a big development team that is, let's say, working in the, let's say, the old way or normal way of coding. That's our iOS team, our Android team, our web team, and so on. So we have 5 teams. And 2 teams are doing n8n things in our company. So maybe good to explain, we're coming from Postman Enterprise in combination with some Zapier 2 years ago. And then we were looking for the compliance part, and we figured out n8n could be a thing before it was cool. And then we thought, let's give it a try, the community instance. So that's how we started. Reason why we're not building everything in our backend ourselves is that if we see the costs for that, it's higher because it takes us more time to build, and especially if we want to iterate on it. So maybe to compare, I'm not sure what your background is, but if we look at normal cycles with sprint meetings, weeklies, planning work, then our POs, our product owners, are planning everything for the developers with requirements and so on. We do the same for the n8n things. The only big difference is that we sometimes in the meeting fix it immediately. Oh, let's connect it. Let's just prototype a bit. Because it's also visually, I think, really appealing to work on it. And then actually we always had the idea, okay, and then once we will build everything again in our backend. Till the moment we realized that if we can do 1 million executions, and we still don't have any problem. We have only 500,000 users on our platform. And if we can run that easily, why would we shift? Because every time when there is a new LLM node, we just plug it in. It takes maybe 5-15 minutes. We can test it already. So for now, it's also the speed of developing. But I think the tech debt, the last sort of question that you had, is a really fair one because I have no good answer to it. Only that we have a big problem in terms of that we have hundreds of workflows when we open it. And we think this could be done with half the nodes now, 6 months later. Are we going to invest in that? Clients are not asking. I think it's the traditional loop of tech debt. The only problem is that it feels that the loop goes way faster. With the normal teams, we're talking about code from 3 to 5 years ago. Now we're talking about workflows of 2 months ago. So we're figuring out how we deal with tech debt. At the moment, it's fairly simple. We spend 10% of our time resolving tech debt, optimizing flows. And how we do it, maybe to bridge to this slide, is this is the left side, is our application. We have obviously an API, and we connect the REST API with n8n. All right, first of all, we have quite an extensive REST API. So you all know I guess if you're all using n8n, then you know the HTTP node. That's probably your friend, till a certain extent. Because if you have too many HTTP nodes, it's unreadable, your flow. You can put sticky notes everywhere, and so on. So what we start doing is that at least our own endpoints are the Chainels nodes. You see them on the right. So we have multiple nodes, or let's say 145 options, and all the documentation is in, so that works really well. So we generated our custom nodes with API specs. Works really good, and makes it visually also really appealing when you look at your workflow. What is our part of the chain and what is in third party. So I would really recommend, if you have any developers in your team, look at it. There are some really good libraries. I know that the n8n team is also working on some options, I believe, to make it even easier. We even made our own nodes for third parties because we simply liked it visually more, and we thought it saves problems. One other benefit of this is that here on the left side, I do exactly the same as on the right side, but with the HTTP node, the real things are not even in my viewport. So that is, I think, also a huge advantage. Besides the fact of switching all the time, looking at my documentation, and all the tips and tricks are automatically in. So I would really recommend, from a developer's point of view, try to invest a bit of time in the nodes. Then I'm already, I think, at my last slide, and then I think especially the evals now are quite good or getting better, and are, of course, with my developer's background, I love it because I want to test things. I want to know how stable it is. So what we do is that we will build with all our flows tests, also to benchmark different models. And even I had a discussion with the developers a few months ago. Okay, but how are we going to test something where we don't really know what the outcome should be? There are, luckily with the latest updates in evals, also a lot of opportunities there that you create some obviously false answers, some obviously true answers, and some things in the gray area. And then you test it. Yeah, it's really compared to unit testing and so on, but I think it really helps as well with debugging. So these are, let's say, the things that we mainly do. Yeah, this is already my last slide, and maybe good to mention is that What we are doing is we're using a lot of AI now in our platform, but we also don't know which model we want to use for what purpose. So we also do a lot of workshop with our clients to figure out where the pain point is, and then we prototype it immediately in n8n. We sometimes even show it how it is going to work. And yeah, I think that is, I would say, the strength of a low-code platform like this. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I remember a slide where you showed that you are using multiple models for different cases.
Yeah.
And from my experience, when you're using multiple models with the same prompt,
Yeah.
Okay, so I will repeat it again. You showed a slide with multiple models, and for some reason you need to run different ones. And from my experience, if you are using the same prompt when running multiple models, the quality of the outcome varies wildly. So my first question, did you notice the same thing? And second, did you fight it somehow, for example, with custom prompt repository or something which is adjusted for each model?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think you gave already a little bit the answer, I would say, but we have a few models that we test them. We do them with evals, we check the quality, and we do know which model is our preferred one from 2 points of view, our costs, and the other one on how precise the answer is. But we measure it, and it also changes because, of course, one of these providers have a new model and we can tap it in. So what we look at, that's maybe good in the, let's say, the spreadsheet that is created behind this, with the evals, as you may know. We look at obviously the seconds that it takes to answer. We look at how many credits, tokens are burned. And then we have at the moment just, I think, more an organizational culture thing that we said, okay, we put sticky notes there and we put things, which models not to use, so that you don't downscale to a mini or a nano version because you know it can't answer it.
But you're still using the single prompt for multiple models.
Yeah, we are not, we try, okay, there are a few examples where, for example, Gemini was not working. And then we just say, okay, we don't use Gemini for this node. So if a client really wants to have Gemini, then we need to change our flow. But at the moment, we can push that away, because I think at the end, if you use sub workflows, you can make it, you can break it up in nice components, like if you're coding with functions. And then the good thing is that most of our agents and assistants exist of, let's say, a main workflow that executes 4 or 5 sub workflows. And most of the time, we only have to touch where the LLMs are. And all the other things, we keep it exactly the same at the moment. But it is a fair question. I think if we run more data, we will definitely have our preferred picks. Yeah.
Thanks so much.
We've got time for a few more questions. I'll just come to you first, and we'll come to the back afterwards.
Yes, thank you. Do you got any tests, unit tests or end-to-end tests for your most important flows?
Yes, yeah, a good question. Our most important flows, because we are real estate software, is that overnight there are new people start living and working in a building the next day, and they get automatically an account. We have automated onboarding through n8n. So that is, let's say, the biggest thing that can go wrong, that you get the wrong door keys and these type of things. So what we do there is that we definitely have a lot of tests. So first of all, our whole platform, our own API is of course fully tested end-to-end. So we know that because the API is used by third parties, by our own app and so on. So that one is, I would say, fairly stable. Then we have the evals on the n8n side. Then we have monitoring via our Slack. So we use, I think was a question in the previous session, we have some Slack channels where we have the monitoring as well. And what we do is every time when we execute something really important, we put the human in the loop again, or at least inform the human, the client. So what we do is that we, for example, send a summarized email, or there's a status page in our platform where you see the summary of the changes that happened. So these are the things that we're doing. Luckily, we of course have also monitoring on our AWS clusters and so on. So that's how we do it now. But I think before evals, we were a bit swimming, I would say. Like, how are we going to do it? Now with evals and the latest updates, we're quite happy on this scale, how we can test it. Yeah.
Yeah, hello. You mentioned that you have 2 separate instances running, one for normal production and one for AI.
Yeah.
How do you differentiate which workflow it belongs in what? Is it simply one has an AI node, therefore it goes there, or do you look at token usage, or do you look at like throughput, how much megabyte is being processed per instance?
That's a good, yeah. Fair question, because at the end, maybe many flows will have AI components. For now, it is everything what we call Lumen AI, what are the AI capabilities in our platform, what have the purple bluish icon. That is in that instance, and all the other things are in the rest. And to be honest, the rest is not using AI at the moment. We do a lot of matching, just with, I think our team really loves the data set comparisons and nodes and these things. So we only use AI when it is our last resort, because we know that there are quite often other operations. So for now, it is indeed exactly so as you say. We don't use any LLM nodes in the other version. But to be fair, I think with having your backups in Git and so on, we have a dedicated DevOps, so we can easily, let's say, flip it around. But it's eventually, I think it's more defining how you want to collaborate and how you want to do it. And I think that's now also a job for our PO to define the workflows and so on. And that's also a bit tying into the tech debt question, that it's going so fast that we're also sometimes thinking, oh, is this the time to change it, or should we just keep this going on till the end of the year and then there's a next version to do it?
I think, unfortunately, we're at time. We've got a short break, and then we've got the roundtable, the panel session, taking place in the main area. So, Erwin, I'd like to say a massive thank you and present you also with a small TV, which we will shortly get your talk loaded up on. Thank you, everyone.